This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
All right, so we're back with Laura Brand, serial killer whisperer, and it's been a little while. She's been really busy. She's also had a little vacation, which is great, and we've been crazy busy, but we're glad to be back with the Serial Killer Whisper podcast. And what we're going to talk about today was something that just happened this past week, which has been crazy. This Brown University shooting, which has basically taken the country and the world by storm. And thankfully, you know, as of recording right now, they found out who it is, but they found out after he committed suicide. But it's a very interesting case because once it happened, people thought they started attaching a bunch of meaning to it. Everyone was like, "Oh, well, is it something related to terrorism? Is it something? Is it a school shooter, normal school shooting?" Because we have so many friggin' school shootings in this country. Fortunately, I'm experienced one of those myself through my daughter's high school, which was crazy. So I know the chaos that happens during that. But we wanted to talk a little bit about that today, and I believe that we have some of our offenders online right now with us, and they're and who do we have today to help us discuss this?
We have Junior. We might have X and Omega hopping on.
Oh, okay.
Possibly, yeah.
All right. So as people who've watched the podcast before, these are men who are incarcerated, I believe, for life without
murder.
All for murder. And I believe all their sentences is it life without parole?
All death penalty.
Oh, they're death penalty. So which means that they're life without parole now, I would imagine. But as we talked about earlier,
Junior, has that changed? Are you guys life without parole, or is it still a death penalty?
No, we all have death sentences, and there is something that potentially could happen between January and February, but I don't want to stir a storm that might cause that to change. But there is something potentially on the horizon coming to change that.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I think we talked a little bit about that earlier with the status and everything. I think everybody's getting their cases reviewed because of getting rid of the death penalty.
It's much bigger than that.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. All right. Well, Junior, have you been following this Brown University shooting case at all? There's actually there's a couple big cases that came up that I think we do.
Yeah, there's quite a few cases that are like the Bondi Beach in Australia. That one was crazy, but there's another one up here close to where I am that involved a rapper that had a song that kind of said, I'll kill you and your family, kind of what X says, I'll wipe you and your whole family out so no one comes back and gets me. But then also the Brown University, I've seen it on the news, and I watched the first day it happened. But since then, I've been watching little bits and pieces as I come and go to my programs. So I'm familiar with it.
What did you think initially when you first heard about it? Because there was a lot of people talking about it could have been like terrorism, or it was just our normal run-of-the-mill, which has become a horrible thing to say, school shooting, maybe with a disgruntled student. And he turned out to be a student, but he went there like many years earlier. What did you think initially when you heard about it, and what did you think who it could be?
Your call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
So I didn't think terrorism at all. I immediately went to a disgruntled student, maybe a bullied student. But then as the story unfolded and I started seeing stuff, I had other theories in mind. I don't know if the guy was married or his job status, but I kind of wondered, like, did he get a degree and he was in the work field, and now that the work field is changing, the time is changing, was his degree kind of obsolete and he had to go back for more training, and that triggered him to be pissed off at the school that he wasn't trained fully? Or was he married or had family issues and school debt from his years in college that was hounding him over the years, and he finally couldn't take it and he went back and started shooting up people as disgruntled because now he owed a lot of money and it was ruining his life, bankruptcy and other stuff. So I had a couple of different things go through my mind.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that there's kind of two phases to this case, because he killed someone else too, and someone who actually he knew, who he went to school with at Brown, I believe. This MIT professor who I guess was also from. I mean, this guy was from Portugal. I can't remember if the MIT professor was from Portugal. But he was a national. He was a Portuguese national, so he wasn't a U.S. citizen. But what I thought was interesting is that he actually knew this MIT. And then early on, it was like Cindy, unfortunately, she's on her way here. She called it early on when she heard about those two cases, both the Brown University and MIT. She immediately said, she goes, those are connected, because they're very close to each other and very similar. So I thought, did you think it was connected at all?
Oh yeah, immediately, because when I saw the news, like the next day, and they said that the professor was killed, they said that it had no link to the other two murders at Brown, and I thought, you guys are putting out false information. There's no way that that's a coincidence. No way at all. So I knew immediately that it was connected.
Yeah, I didn't think that at all. I didn't. I think. How about you, Laura?
Well, I don't know too much about it, but it kind of reminds me of the Idaho 4, where he was after that one girl, but the other 3 were kind of collateral damage. And from what you guys are saying, it's like he had that prior relationship with the MIT guy. It almost seems like that was his target, is the one he was really going after.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because
I think he went back to finish the job that he couldn't get done the first day that he shot the first 2 people. I think he went back to handle his hit list for his main target.
I mean, it's a radical way of thinking, but I've heard of cases where this has happened where, the criminal has one target in mind, but will do other crimes to kind of throw off the investigation.
Yeah. So what do you think, in someone like this? Because it's almost like, because he like some of the killers, these mass shooting spree killers, because he's a spree killer. He's not a serial killer, even though he killed more than one person. What is the psychology behind? Because they know they don't have an end game, so they're already planning their exit. So what's the thought process and the psychopathy behind that? Knowing that they're going to do all this stuff, they're going to take their anger or whatever it is they have against society, against these people, against these institutions. What is their thought process? What's going through their brain, Laura?
Well, it's like Ford said, especially he talks about mass shooters a lot, is, it's almost on the same lines of a serial killer, except, they're going out with kind of like one big bang type of thing. It's almost like a show for them. They're taking out all that anger. Somebody's joining us. Hold on one sec.
Oh, another person.
Oh, it's a new one.
Oh, okay. What are we going to call this person?
I've nicknamed him Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. Okay. Call him Bigfoot. All right. So we have another one. And is he calling in from the same institution?
Hi. So Bigfoot, we're recording. We're going to call you Bigfoot.
Okay.
We want it. So we're talking about, have you been following the Brown shooting?
The Brown, I never heard about it. Right. Yeah. I just saw some on TV. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Bigfoot. You're here with Rob and Laura. And we were just talking about it, and we were trying to figure out, first of all, just tell us, since you're new on the podcast, can you tell us just some basic information about yourself? We're keeping your name undisclosed, but what are you in for? And just tell us a little about yourself.
Me?
Yeah.
I got to be careful on all of that.
I can tell you he's from San Quentin's death row.
What I was going to say is Mark there?
Who?
Yeah. Hey, you remember Rocky Rhodes? Remember him? Yeah, I already know. I saw the news this morning about him getting resentenced, a child molester. No, he got denied. They denied him. Oh, that's good.
Somebody is this inside prison news here?
Yeah,
you're breaking here?
You guys tell us actually, because they were telling me a little bit about this child molester.
So there's a guy named Rocky Rhodes. I think his real name is Robert Rhodes, and he got to death row with one murder for a young child, a boy. He molested and raped boys. And then once he was on death row, a cold case hit came up for another murder that they suspected because it was the same MO, and the DNA came back to him, and they gave him another life sentence for the torture and murder. I believe it was a 9-year-old little boy. And
horrible.
They announced on the news that some of the laws that his enhancements, like an enhancement could be like if you use a gun, or if you're a prior predator, got a prior felony, they can like strike you out with more time or give you more time for using certain weapons. And the elements that they used for part of his conviction no longer fall as the authority of the land. So he's potentially going to get resentenced today. And as Bigfoot said, his sentencing got denied, which is a good thing because he's a sicko.
Wait a minute, Ro. I know I've heard this name. He's suspected on multiple cold cases.
Yes.
Okay, so basically he's not going anywhere.
Thank God.
Yeah. I know inside the prison walls, child molesters
are. Your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You guys don't like them.
No, and to tell you the truth, I'm doing a program here, and the subject that we're on now is spousal abuse, sexual abuse of spouses and or minors. And, a lot of us do these rehabilitation programs because we want to try and make ourselves better, or like help the community learn from what we learn inside, if we can get out, or if we can do podcasts and help people. But, as we go through these courses, even though I don't have a sex crime, I know people who've been affected by sex crimes. And these courses are very emotional, and they serve a lot of stuff because of the prison politics, our personal beliefs, our morals, knowing doing stuff like this is wrong. But then just knowing that these people are around us and we can't do anything to them, otherwise we get in trouble or we catch more time, is another hard pill to swallow. So it's a very big thing to deal with in prison.
Yeah.
Now I have a question.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
A question for Bigfoot. Are you there, Bigfoot? Oh, did it hang up?
Did he opt out?
He might have opted out.
Okay, so we lost Bigfoot. So let's go back to what we were talking about before. So you were pretty, Junior, you were pretty adamant that you thought those things were connected. Me personally, I didn't think they were connected. Cindy thought they were connected right away. And we were talking a little bit more about the psychology.
60 seconds remaining.
The psychology. So Laura, why don't you expound on that a little bit? On these type of spree shooters, and what do you think what do you think was going through this mind? I mean, this guy's mind, because we still don't have a lot of information about why he did this, and I'm sure that's going to unpack as the days come, as they get more information.
I was from what I've seen so far is, he was found dead in a storage locker, and it's such a coward way to go out because there's no answers. You don't find out why. There's no motive. You don't really have any answers to why these, crimes have happened, why people are dead because of these crimes, and there's no nothing. So it's hard to speculate on that type of subject because you really don't know, what was going through his head or, why he did this type of thing. So I'll speak for mass shooters, I guess, in general. Typically we see it with the high school kids, and, typically it's from bullying. It's from, pent-up aggression. Sometimes it's abuse at home mixed in. And, we see these acts of violence, and there's a lot of speculation, a lot of study, with the media and video games playing a factor, in our society. Because you look at over in Europe, you look at, Australia, the rest of the world. All the mass shootings are happening here in America. So, what's within our own society.
This guy doesn't fit that demographic, though. He's
weirder too, is he doesn't, because he was
Global Telling.
a PhD or getting his PhD.
Yeah, he was an educated guy,
Right.
and he was like was he in his, I can't remember. I think he was in his 40s.
Yeah.
So he doesn't fit that classic school shooter.
Classic type. Right.
Yeah.
Which
For this call.
I think is an indicator of ulterior motivations behind it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of probably why this case is going to,
Global Telling.
haunt people for a long time, because he doesn't, meet that demographic that we typically see.
And yeah, because he was one of those things. Also, he cased the university out like pretty thoroughly.
So this is very premeditated,
Very premeditated.
Yeah.
And so Junior, are you still on, or are you off? Did you jump off?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I don't know how much time you have, but so is there anybody inside that you're inside prison with that kind of fits this kind of profile of like a spree killer that
Omega, right?
Yeah, so I know one. I believe he's probably one of the first California school shooters. I don't know if he's the first or third, but he's very close to the first. His dad was military, and he was in a military school or something like that, and he went to school and started shooting. And I also know another guy that was doing, remember the New York sniper or DC sniper?
Yes.
I know a guy in here that I was with on the yard for numerous years who did that. So I'm around a lot of guys that do similar things, yes.
Did you speak to these guys? Have you ever spoken to them?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been on the yard with them. They were my neighbors, or some of them were kind of my friends. So to speak in prison, friendship is weird, but they were kind of my friends, yeah.
Have they ever spoken about their crimes or any indication of, their motivations behind it?
They have a motivation of, like, they snap, like, they get disgruntled about certain things going on in the school or the city or the family or the friendship or the school atmosphere. And for different reasons, they just snap. But mostly it's being, like, shunned, bullied, discouraged from what's going on. They don't feel part of it, so they say, like, the hell with it. I'm just going to go take everyone out. Some, like the guy that I know that was doing the spree shootings, he was just doing it because he was high on dope and just, like, disgruntled with society.
Do you think
it's
they
hard
would,
to, like,
any of them would speak to us?
Huh?
Do you think any of them would speak to us?
Well, I'm not around them. The two guys I'm mentioning, they're not here where I am, so I'd have to try and reach out to them at some later point, but I don't think so. I mean, a lot of guys with death sentences right now are really leery of talking because of their appeals. It's hard for us to talk because we don't want to mess up our appeals.
We
Our
can
lawyers tell
keep
us
it,
not to,
you
but
know,
some
nicknames
guys,
like we always do.
Yeah, we don't have to identify them.
Yeah, we don't have to identify them.
no, I know that, but sometimes they're still leery. So I'd have to check on that.
Okay, cool. Just say it's just more for educational purposes. We're trying to figure out why,
Yeah.
what goes on in someone's mind when they just decide, all right, I'm going to go shoot some innocent people for no reason.
Right.
Or, you know, that, you know, because that just seems like it's so random. It's like it's a hard-wired brain that just starts exploding and they just don't have any other answers and they just want to take it out on the world. I mean, to me, it's like, I mean, killing any innocent person is horrible, but this one seems like they look for really innocent people. Someone sitting in a classroom at a university, or someone sitting in their home and just, as the professor was, and he was just, you know, killed in cold blood. I mean, it just seems that kind of thinking is so random. Like, unfortunately, a lot of times, you know, we've spoken about serial killers. They're feeding a desire.
Mm-hmm.
They're as you know, your friend Dr. White says, they're filling a need.
Mm-hmm.
Are these guys filling a need, or this is just kind of like kamikaze? They're just going to do it and they're going to get out.
I think it's more of a combination of kamikaze and being disgruntled. I mean, think about this. How many people go to work or go to school and they get so frustrated with the system that they say to themselves, and they don't actually go out and do anything about it, but they say to themselves, fuck them or fuck the world. Fuck that business or fuck everyone in my office. Excuse my language, but there's more people that say or think that stuff than we would like to think. But a lot of people don't take action to it. Mm-hmm. So it's just a disgruntled, like, vengeful way of, like, I'm tired of this shit. I'm going to take it out on somebody. And some people do and some people don't. Some people
I
work
think
and go somewhere else.
what you're saying is that's the line, though, is most people, I would say like 98%, 99% of people don't. You know, they either leave the job or they might curse out their boss, but maybe even go a step further, but it doesn't cross over into violence. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
well, that's what I get that.
Yeah, I'm saying like
said,
we're looking at the people who do cross over that line.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? The type of person who just crosses over into that line, or is it really something, you know, more of something that just snaps in a human?
I think it has a lot to do. I don't think these people. Well, I shouldn't say this. I was going to say a lot. I don't think these people are evil. I want to say they're average people, but they get so much pressure, or they get shunned so much, or frustrated with whatever's going on so much that they can't handle it no more, and they don't have the resources to handle it, to figure it out, or to move on. So they succumb under the pressure of whatever it is, and they just snap and go do what they do.
So you think it's more speaking to coping skills, maybe?
Yeah, yes. It's coping skills along with resources, where their mental state is. Are they depressed? Are they suicidal? Do they have a family that they have to look out for? Or they like lone actors, like they can take themselves out and not worry about what comes afterwards? Or like there's many factors in it, but I think they're average people who just succumb to not having the resources or the mental fortitude to handle this stuff.
Yeah. No, to me, it's just, it's unfathomable to think that you just wake up one day and you're so pissed off. I mean, we all have obstacles in our lives. We all have things that happen.
Your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
We all have things that happen to us on a daily basis. You know, it's like bad things happen to people, normal people all the time. But like the last thing that goes through my mind is going out and killing innocent people. I mean, if anything, you think about, all right, well, I want to hurt myself, or I want to do something self-destructive to myself. where they go out and you drink too much or you do something, but that to me seems more rational. But I guess when you're having those thoughts, I mean, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, Laura, is that when these killers, and this is something you can jump into, Junior, after she answers, is how much of that thought process, the ruminating of and like fantasizing about what you're going to do or possibly do, how much does that come into play, Laura, in these
I was gonna
killers'
say
minds?
a lot,
a lot.
a lot. Because from what I've heard, and he's saying it too already, from what I've heard being in prison, which he already knows, is this. I mean, it's from the killers I've interviewed. I mean, it's just in their minds and replays over and over again for years. Sometimes even before they even take action. So those violent fantasies or those homicidal fantasies, a lot of the time, are just already percolating inside the mind. And Junior, you can add to that, but I'm sure we're both saying the same thing of a lot. So I'm sure you've heard.
Okay, so my perspective on this is you have to think about this in a mental state of anxiety. And when you get trapped in anxiety, your thoughts are racing, like if someone that has ADD or on speed, and they, like Laura said, they're ruminating, thinking these things over and over and over again. They can't stop it. And
this call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I want to say this because you said, how do they go out and kill innocent people? A lot of these people have targets intended. But, a lot of times crimes are committed that aren't intentionally committed with the intent of harming an innocent person. They're victims of circumstance. And what I mean by this is, I know somebody very close to me that was in school, having a hard time at home, having a hard time at school, having a hard time dealing with certain things going on. And he reached out to the school counselors, and the school counselors told him to go to Job Corps. Job Corps sent him back to the school counselors. The school counselors sent him to somewhere else. Those people sent him back to Job Corps. Job Corps said, no, you got to go back to school. Like, they just bounced this guy around. And he was reaching out for help. He was a youth offender, 19 years old at the time. And due to him not getting the help, even though he was trying, he snapped. And this points out to the fact that, it's not always an intended target, that there's victims of circumstances. And a lot of times you're trying to help, or you're in a cycle where something's wrong, but you just can't snap out of it because of the anxiety or the circumstance. So it just depends, like we were talking about, resources and mental fortitude. Who do you have around you? Who can you reach out to? Like, do you have someone that will help you? Do you have someone to go talk to? Like, there's so many things that go into some of these crimes. Yes, there are guys that have intended targets, and those ones, most likely you can't help them unless you catch them before the act. But the guy that I'm talking about now, that I'm referring to, if he had someone say, hey, I'll help you, or someone actually stopped him and helped him instead of bouncing him around, it could have prevented some stuff. So
Yeah.
there's many different things to take into consideration with school shootings and other crimes that some people just don't have the skills.
Yeah. So, Laura, how long do you think this guy was? Because to me, it sounds like he's been ruminating a long time, because he's basically going back to a school that he hadn't been in many years.
I was going to say, it seems like years.
And he killed someone that was.
I think he had an initial. Sorry.
Go ahead. What were you going to say, Mark? I mean, Junior.
I think he had an initial displeasure with that school, or something to do with that school, people, classes, attendance, who knows, but he didn't like something there from the beginning, and he thought about it over the years. It probably pissed him off, and like I was saying, it could have been school debt. The school debt could have been like poking him, like poking a bear for years. We don't know what was poking him, but obviously something at the school poked him enough over the years for him to backtrack and take it out on people.
Well, what's interesting to me is the MIT professor. Now, did the MIT professor work at Brown?
No, he went to Brown, though. I think he went to Brown. Let me just double check that, but I'm pretty sure that he.
So the professor was a student at Brown?
From my understanding, the Brown professor was part of the nuclear fusion class or program that this guy attended years earlier, if I took the story correctly.
Yeah, I'm just reading it right now. But yeah, no, it's interesting. So he obviously, maybe he was passed over by this guy for a job. I mean, what's interesting about this case is that we still don't have a lot of answers to this case.
Well, here's
So
what I'm just trying to figure out, because there seems to be a discrepancy, and that's what I always hone in on. So the MIT professor he didn't teach at Brown.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Nope.
He didn't teach it. Okay, so he didn't teach at Brown, but he was running some type of program at Brown, or no?
Yeah, he was. I'm trying to pull this up right now, but the.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here, wishing you a very happy half-off holiday, because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah?
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Yeah, he was part of some exclusive nuclear fusion program.
Okay.
But I don't know if that really had anything to do with him killing. It sounds like unless there was like he was up for this, the killer was up for a job and got denied or something, or was displaced because of this guy. Because there's, other than that, or he's just envious of the guy because they were classmates.
There's some kind of discrepancy. This guy is just coming in randomly. That's what I'm like. There's got to be some underlying motivation there.
I'm sure we're going to find out more, and we can talk about that when all that comes out. But what I really want to talk about too is just kind of, because the other crazy thing that happened this past weekend too is the Rob Reiner's son stabbing, which is really crazy. And the more and more I read about it, and more that's being released, it's very crazy. I mean, obviously, this young man had a lot of substance abuse problems. He had a lot of mental issues. Now they're talking about maybe him just not being fit to be tried. He's pleading not guilty. He's got Alan Jackson, who is Karen Reed's attorney, who has
is he representing him?
He's representing him, and he's he's got a 96% success rate.
I was going to say Alan is amazing.
I know. So you got that going, and then there's but what was interesting, I thought, is that there was an article that came out today, is that because they were at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party, and the family brought him with him, Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle brought him there. I think they were concerned of leaving him alone, but he was getting into verbal altercations, and getting into people's faces. Like he got into Bill Hader's face, the comedian, and he was like, "Can you just please? I'm talking to someone." And it was to the point where someone wanted to call 911, and Conan says, "Don't call 911," because he was getting that kind of energetically volatile with people.
Wow.
And then he got into an argument with his father, Rob Reiner, and apparently that Rob Reiner said something to the effect that he thinks that something bad is going to happen when he left. And obviously that's what happened. And, because they went home, he killed them in their sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more information coming out about that.
I have chills talking about this because of my cousin, and he killed them both, and his girlfriend and her father, while they were in their sleep. And I remember.
I can't remember. Did he stab them?
Pipe wrench.
Pipe wrench. Well, he used a knife. They're stabbing, and I said their throats were slit. I mean, to do that to your parents. I mean, what does that say about what's going on in their brain, Laura?
I mean, well, from what I've heard, there's substance abuse, so that's going to play a huge factor. I don't know what the substance is. And then, like you said, if there's mental, illness or problems, a disorder, you mix drugs with that. I mean, it's just that's like a
Well,
lethal.
he was also on medication too, and apparently they changed his medication like a week ago, or like
Oh
very
no.
short period of time, because he was exhibiting signs of schizophrenia. And so, and as we know, on these medications and SSRIs, I mean,
Well, I was
some of the
gonna say, especially with SSRIs, especially with these, and I was just thinking about Alex, what is it? No, Alan Jackson from
yes,
the Kate Reed case is actually representing the son, which I didn't know.
Yeah.
Which, wow, that's wild. But yes, with the SSRIs, it takes 6 weeks for you to even see if there's an improvement, or whether a patient is, it's your neurotransmitters. It's almost a guessing game, because you have to see when they're prescribing the new medication, but it needs a valid 6 to 8 weeks before you can even see if there's an improvement. So if a medication was changed a week prior,
I'm guessing on the time. I just knew it was pretty recently.
but even between, I mean, you're talking 6 to 8 weeks, even if it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I mean, you still need that 6 to 8 weeks to see if it's going to improve or get worse. So obviously that whatever medication he was prescribed just didn't mesh with his neurochemistry.
Yeah. Well,
Which,
also the side effects of these things are homicidal thoughts and suicidal thoughts.
that's a big one.
Because I know just Zoloft, you have that. Like there's suicidal thoughts. I was on it for like a week years ago, because my ex-wife thought it was a good idea, because I was very stressed, and it was amazing how I hated it. I mean, I felt like a zombie, number one, and I had all these like weird intrusion thoughts that I never had before, and I got off of it for a week because I just didn't.
Well, like those neuro psychotics, I mean, or just drugs in general, like Zoloft. I mean, years ago, I tried Chantix to quit smoking.
Mm-hmm.
Thing with the suicidal thoughts. And I'm not a
This
depressed
call
person.
and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I'm not a depressed person. And I after a week or two, I was so depressed, and I was just like, I could feel it in my brain. Like, it just depressed. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Just from taking this drug to quit smoking.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're playing with those neuroreceptors, I mean, it's no joke. They do have a profound impact on the brain. I mean, you're messing with the serotonin, the dopamine. These are, I mean, just those two transmitters can lead to homicidal and suicidal thoughts alone.
Yeah. Well, Junior, are you back?
Yeah.
Okay. So don't they administer a lot of those drugs to you guys inside prison, correct?
Yeah, so I wanted to comment on a couple of things Laura was saying about the neurotransmitters and stuff. So I'll give you an example. When I was going through my trial, I was assaulted to staff a lot. Every time I come out of my cell, I was assaulting the staff, the guards. And they had to subdue me, so they gave me medication, Cinequan, Elavil. They were trying to tranquilize me, and it didn't work. But when I finally got off those medications, it literally took me 6 to 8 months to feel like I was normal functioning again, like I didn't have a cloud in my brain. But another thing I want to point out is that this Rob Reiner's son was on medication. They were changing him. When I was at San Quentin and they would change certain guys' medication, they knew that one medication wouldn't mix with another medication. So they had to do a detox to wean a guy off certain milligrams to a certain level before they can give him another dose of a different drug or the same drug. And they would take some guys to what we call the crisis bed, the fourth floor, because they knew, like Laura was saying, that some of these things could have homicidal, suicidal repercussions of guys, like their mind just flipping just based on switching these medications.
No, it can happen. It really can.
There could be numerous things that this Rob Reiner's son might not have been monitored the way he should have been monitored, coming off these medications and getting on another medication or switching dosage.
Yeah, I want to say I'd like to call bullshit on that, because they sent him to Nick Reiner. I mean, he was in some of the most expensive treatment centers in the country. I mean, the last one he was in, they were paying $70,000 a month for him to be in there. So you would think with that kind of supervision, they would have had a level of expertise to know what to do, because you're inside prison and the prison psychiatrists know what they need to do. You would think these people on the outside at these treatment centers, these mental treatment centers, would also know that if you keep on mixing this cocktail inside this mentally handicapped, substance abused young man, that something bad's going to happen. And they kind of knew. They all predicted it. The family predicted it. They were, because he had outbursts earlier. The sister, his sister, younger sister, was scared of him. Everybody was scared of him.
It sounds like you should have been an inpatient, not outpatient.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, I think he was. I just think that, he would go into a treatment center. I mean, listen, Rob Reiner made a movie about it years ago, about his struggle with his son and the substance abuse. So it's not like something that's just happened yesterday. And from what neighbors and family members said, he was exhibiting these signs at the age of 11.
Well, that's what I was going to go back to with my cousin. I got off track, right before the murders. He had committed 2 acts of violence. And I remember I was very concerned because I was like, this is just crazy. One of them was he was walking to a 7-Eleven and a guy just said hi to him and he punched him in the face. And I was like, that's not normal. Like, something's wrong here. You know what I'm saying? Is like, and then what you were saying about the Conan party is like those little signs, we don't really, I think in everyday life, we don't really take them into account. We're just like, okay, someone's having a bad day. Somebody's just, maybe they had too much drink. They're tired, they're depressed, whatever it is. We don't take those into account really. But now hindsight is always 20/20. You look at the party with Conan. I look at my cousin and I'm like, yeah. But
before that incident with your cousin, the 7-Eleven, did you realize of any other violent outbursts beforehand?
Yeah.
Okay, so he had a history of it.
I would say there were, but not within a short period of time before the homicide, I would say.
So what are they going to do with this kid? If Alan Jackson's on the case, he's going to push for, an insanity defense. And so what happens, just speculating on the case, because I think he's probably going to get it based upon all this information that's coming out.
Well, if they had just changed his meds, he has a good case to present. Whether or not that holds up in trial, I don't know. I don't know, the psychological background. I don't know the substance abuse. I don't know what they changed it to. There's a lot of factors that are going to come into play here. But just like you're going to see in Karen Reed, they're going to, the defense is going to bring in experts to say this drug was going to make him homicidal, where the prosecutors going to bring in and be like, no, that's not true. So it comes down to what experts are going to bring on too. And just, whether what the judge is going to allow, what the jury is going to see. I don't know. And then again, it's a high profile case again. So.
But Junior, what do you think? Do you think he's going to end up in prison, or is he going to end up in a mental hospital?
Well, Laura was making valid comments about how this might turn out, what might affect certain outcomes. But, a lot of people don't look at this. Look at the Menendez brothers or like O.J. Simpson. If you can afford a lawyer, especially with Alan Jackson's notorious name and work, juries succumb to this stuff, and DAs succumb to this stuff, judges succumb to this stuff because they don't want to put up a fight against a rich white kid or someone who's rich. So I can see this playing out if the medication angle of defense works. I can see this playing out where the guy will get manslaughter, sort of a couple years in prison, and I don't mean a couple years, maybe like 4 to 8 years or something like that. And then as part of parole or something, he may not even serve prison time. He may serve mental hospital time, but it may end up with manslaughter where he gets sent to a mental home for a prison for a certain amount of time to stabilize him, to give him treatment. So it depends. Like if that was me or you, we might not get a sentence like that. But since he's got a good lawyer, he's rich, and if they know how to push it, he could very well walk away with manslaughter and time in a mental hospital for treatment.
Well, that could be a factor, but his parents were so beloved too, so I could see it going either way. I guess my question is, do we know how, what are the siblings? How do they, I can't even.
I think they're grief stricken. They're mortified. They've been living with this their entire life.
Yeah.
So, one of his brother's like a news anchor in another, I think in Houston or something like that. And the younger sister, she lives here in LA, but the irony is that the family's fortune is what's paying for his defense. Is going to pay for his defense. They're talking about seeing whether or not they're going to disinherit him, because he's probably in the will.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
So it's a super.
He can't inherit. He can't inherit off a crime that he committed.
Are you sure? In the state of California,
he cannot get the Yes, he cannot get the inheritance.
Yeah. But I think they're talking about whether or not they can. Obviously, someone's paying for Alan Jackson, and we know he's top dollar. Yeah. So it's like, who's paying for him?
I heard on the news that Alan Jackson kind of came to his defense, and no money or very little money was exchanged, and Alan Jackson was doing it just because of the prestige, the notoriety of his name. Or, some lawyers take on causes they believe in, and some lawyers take them on whether there's money involved or not. So, there's things that can go down with that.
I could see with the high profile stuff, maybe you take it on for, I don't know.
Yeah. It's a super tragic, complex case. It's like something out of a Greek tragedy play.
Literally.
It's just, you can't even fathom it, but it's happened before. This is not something that hasn't happened before. Talk about the Menendez brothers, and they were trying to get out, and it looks like they're whatever they were trying to do for parole looks like has gotten swept underneath the rug. And so, and they've been in there for a very long time. They've been in there over 37 years or something like that. Yeah. So my question is and I don't know, and you may know this too, Junior, is I years back, I went to go do a documentary on Atascadero State Mental Hospital. And is that still around?
Oh yeah.
It is?
A couple of guys I know just got transferred there.
Yeah. Because that, to me, that when I went there to scout the place, and I'd already been to a bunch of prisons, that place was scarier than the prisons.
Yeah. I can tell you stories. I went to the Forensic Psychology Symposium in San Diego, and we were talking about it. And that place scared everyone more than anything, more than any prison in the entire United States. They're like, I'll go into any place. These are forensic psychologists, but I won't go in there.
Yeah.
I've
been inside. It's the weirdest thing. It's just like these corridors look like airport hallways, and there's different colored lines on the ground, and they correspond. So whatever color you're wearing, the inmates are wearing, that's the line you walk on. So it's like literally, and they're just kind of shuffling their feet. And, I remember one of the guards told me that, he goes, if the medication, these guys weren't given medication, he goes, this place, everybody would be dead.
Oh, orderlies have died?
Yeah.
You don't even know. I've heard ever since I started college in forensic psychology, that is like the poster child for the horror stories of going into forensic psychology is Atascadero.
And I think we need more of those places, though, because there's a lot of them, a lot of these people that are doing these crimes, they got rid of them years ago.
Yeah.
And now, the streets are filled with a lot of these people that are like that. And so there's no place for them to go. They're not getting treatment. They're not getting medication, and they're just.
No, and I agree with you on that point. It's funny you mention that place too, because that is where Roy Norris was incarcerated at, where he met Joe Jackson.
Scary,
That's where they met.
scary friggin' place, man.
Mhm.
And it doesn't look scary from the outside. It looks like a middle school from
It
the
does.
outside. You
It
know,
does.
if anybody's ever seen it, and it's like nestled in Atascadero, California, which is a beautiful area.
Mhm.
And
No, it's beautiful on the outside, just like San Luis Obispo. You
yeah,
wouldn't know. No.
but crazy. So my guess is he's probably going to end up there.
Mm.
I mean, because they wouldn't put him in prison, would they?
I would be surprised if he gets sentenced to prison. I would see him more in a place like that.
Yeah,
But I mean, it's early to tell, but yeah, I think so.
I know. It's a horrible, horrible. I mean, I remember when I was watching on the TV and got the flash on my phone. I'm like, what?
Mhm.
And but then you start peeling back the layers there, and it's like, it's the people who were close to the family they were shocked,
Mm.
but they weren't surprised. And the fact that Christmas party where he was displaying all these psychotic episodes to everybody, like walking up into them and like yelling in their face, are you famous? Are you famous? You know, who are you? Are you famous? And like, that's what he said to Bill Hader. And Bill Hader says, excuse me, I'm talking to someone. And actually kind of, I don't know if he barked at him or just said, hey, listen, slow down. But it's just a lot of people. And the fact that just came out, I think today or yesterday, where some people wanted to call 911 and Conan said, no, don't call 911. He didn't want to make a scene out of this.
Well, I
As soon
think
as it-
just like with my cousin, that happened with my aunt.
This
doing
call and your
the
telephone
same.
number will be monitored and recorded.
And I think it's so important. And, I have this in my book too. These type of moments, you can be looked at as crazy or paranoid or that kind of thing. And because it can seem so innocent, it can seem so, unhinged, but you're still like, it's nothing type of thing.
yeah.
But these are the moments we really need to be looking at. I mean, you look at the school shooters, like we are just talking about, look at all, like when they look at the online activity where they're like, well, I just thought it was this. I didn't think it was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And you look back at the homicide stuff and you're just like, I didn't think that was much. I didn't think, him going in and peeping in girls' locker room, taking pictures was much. I didn't think him, pulling the underwear out of the drawers, going into women's houses. Like, I didn't think it was anything. I thought it was weird, but I didn't think it was too crazy.
Yeah.
It's always this little stuff that people kind of like brush off.
The little deviant behaviors.
Exactly. That kind of gets swept under the rug, and people always, and it's human nature. We don't want to believe that. We don't want to believe that people can be evil. We don't want to believe that people can escalate into what they, the acts we've seen, the acts we've discussed. But
I think also the fact that the way they found him later, I mean, he just went to a hotel.
Mhm.
He had blood on him, and he just walked in there, got a hotel room, and just like, it was kind of catatonic, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you just go on? You just brutally murdered your mother and father.
Right.
I mean, I don't even know. That's
Didn't
why
your best friend, the Night Stalker, do something like that with the blood? Like, didn't he like go to the hotel with the covered in blood?
Yeah. Some of it's part of the joy, like Laura was saying. I was really close to the Night Stalker, and I picked him apart. I studied him. I became very good friends with him, and his thing was like putting on a show and blood. He loved blood, and someone recently did a podcast that I heard about saying that he didn't like to fight, but he's a coward. But this guy was no coward. Out of all the serial killers on Decade that I know of, Richard Ramirez embraced the fight, and I've seen him get in fights with three guys on him, and he stood his ground. And as they were pulling him off the yard, because they tell the guy to get off the yard one by one, as he's walking off the yard, he's licking his lips and putting his hands to his face, putting the blood, like seeing the blood on his hands and licking it. I mean, there's some guys that just get off on certain things after a crime, or certain things bring the pleasure during the crime. So Rob Reiner's son going to the hotel act like nothing happened. It could be, he might not have been mentally there, and he might not have let it. It's like shock. It doesn't necessarily hit you at that time. It might hit him later. It might hit him today. It might hit him a year from now. So you have to look at someone's mental state or their behavior, their psychopathy, like Laura said, to figure out what's going on in their mind.
Yeah. Do you think, Laura, that he even realized he did it?
No, I mean, for him to check into a hotel with the blood, he must have been in, God, some type of state. I don't know if it was a drug-induced state, or I don't know if it was a psychotic break. It almost seems like a psychotic break.
Because, like, what happens when you mix those severe mental psychiatric drugs with alcohol and regular drugs? What happens to the brain?
It's got to be a mix or one or the other, because you could have a total psychotic break and do something like that. You can have a psychotic break covered in blood and check into a hotel. You can be, depending on the substance, check into, like, high out of your mind, check into a hotel, like high on meth or something, check into a hotel. You're not thinking, and then it can be a concoction of the both. But it's got to be one or the other, or both.
There could be one other explanation, and I know someone that, as part of their crime, something happened in a crime that they do not remember, and a PTSD expert told him that despite you not being able to visually see, you're just like a soldier. You know to carry out certain things. So Rob Reiner's son could have been in like some PTSD shock where he doesn't realize what was going on, and he just felt like it was like a normal argument with his family. Like, let's say that Rob and Cindy get in a fight as husband and wife, and Rob says, "You know what? I'll leave the house. I'm gonna go to a hotel for the night." I mean, Rob Reiner's son could have thought he got in an argument with his parents, didn't realize how far it went, and just separate himself from the so-called
No, what
argument,
you're talking about, if you're
realizing
correct,
it was his
it's a
parents.
dissociated state. You're dissociated.
Yeah.
That it could be a dissociated state where he's not even aware. He's not even in his own body, type of thing.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, yeah, it sounds like obviously he's had a lifetime of psychiatric issues, and and obviously the substance abuse only fueled that and deteriorated his brain even more. I mean, because like I said, they said he was in and out of rehab. He was in and out of institutions. I mean, they used to, he was constantly, he was living on the streets at one time. And, they just had they just did the tough love. They did everything they tried to do. And my heart goes out to that family, because it's just like anybody who has a family member who has substance abuse issues or mental issues,
right?
It is torture.
It's torture to watch a family member go through
It is torture.
one of those. Yeah.
And unfortunately for them, they did everything they tried. I mean, I think Rob Reiner is worth like $200 million. So it wasn't like they didn't have the resources. They threw so much resources at him and so much help. And it was just, sometimes, there's nothing else you can do. Mm-hmm. And the best thing you can do is,
I have to reset my phone.
Okay, we're just about done now. So thanks for joining us, Junior. Appreciate your insight as always.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and we'll talk to you next time. Okay.
Have a happy holidays.
You as well. All right. So Laura, this is crazy. This is crazy stuff. This is just so much. We didn't even talk about the Bondi Beach thing, which I think is more kind of organized chaos. And, that's more like a terrorism, anti-Semitic type thing, but it's still unfortunately, a lot of people suffered this past weekend. And it's hard to this day. I mean, you've been doing this for years now, and it's like the brain. And once again, though, it's all men.
Typically, majority.
Yeah. In this case, it's all men.
Mm-hmm.
So they definitely have that killer gene, the capacity to just take someone's life for no reason.
Well, when you look at psychopathy, when it comes to the genetics, I mean, men are more predisposition to it. So, a lot of it comes to neurological
and testosterone.
Testosterone. Well, yeah, it's part of it. Yeah.
Who said that? What's his name? One of our killers said that.
Alan said it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then also one of the killers said the same thing.
Yeah. No, it's a big factor.
I think it was Ford.
Yeah, I think it was Ford.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy what our brains can do, what our hormones can do just to our psyche alone. I mean, it's really crazy.
Yeah. The ruminating thing I thought is really interesting because, you think about that just from, trying to just a daily makeup of just a regular person, that people who ruminate over things usually are depressed most of the time.
Typically.
You know, and it's just like their brain is on one track, mind. And I think then you take it, you take someone who has the propensity to kill, and you add that ruminating factor, and it's just that's like a supercharger for them.
Literally just percolates.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'm not ruminating.
Good.
I'm ruminating. I have to say, it's like, when I learned that, because like it's hard to shut off your brain, and you got to figure out how you kind of derail those, because it's like negative thoughts. It's all like your brain fantasizing.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. Your brain is like, our brains are so complex. But like you said, like when most of us get mad at our boss or whatever, we just, we'll go to the bar with coworkers and we'll vent. We'll have a drink. We'll vent. Nobody ever typically goes to, you know what, I'm going to go kill them, or I'm going to think about killing them. I'm going to go home and lay in bed and think about harming them or harming some stranger.
Well, it's the worrying, it's the anxiety that we have. And I think part of it goes back with men, primarily, it goes back to hunter and gathering phases where, we were constantly on alert for threats. And that, now that there's no threats in civilized societies, like your mind creates these threats and creates these loops. And, and that can turn into, if you're not a healthy person, that can turn into someone who's schizophrenic and, or anything else, and can do something violent, or someone who becomes psychopathic, and whether or not they want to attack a woman, rape her and kill her for just pleasure. And, but they're constantly, as you said, even with Bittaker, these guys would constantly fantasize about what they're going to do, and they would plan it. And like Lynette Ledford, and like he would go there and he would look at her at the McDonald's and
gawk at her
and just fantasize and start talking to her, and just kind of, and it's that loop.
Well, I can send you, because I touch on it in the first book. I'm touching it more in the second book, but there's something definitely with the primal features to now, and a lot of correlations with the serial killers and the primal hunters or gatherers. And, it's really fascinating when you start to look at it.
Yeah.
How we did things back then, and then the traits that are manifesting with them. And the one thing I've always found even more fascinating is when I go into a prison, these guys will get, it's almost like they're hypnotized when PBS, like a nature show, is on, or National Geographic is on. Like the lions in the savannah, the gazelles, or whatever, anything animal.
Predators.
It's like they literally, you can't even snap in front of them. They don't even see it. They're just zoned in when that is on the TV, which I've always found so fascinating.
Did you ever ask them about that?
Yeah, they're obsessed with it.
Yeah.
If there's something with animals on, they're watching. Like, they're just so tuned in. Yeah. It's like that primal instinct is just honed in.
Oh yeah. They're front loaded in their brains.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're all predators locked up, and they're all on heightened sense of awareness too, being inside prison with other predators. So there's threats around every corner.
Yep. Doesn't turn off.
Never turns off. All right. Well, we got to turn off for now. And this is our last podcast for 2025. So we're going to be back next year, 2026, with more Serial Killer Whisperer. And got a lot of exciting things to show and talk about. Cases and some other announcements we're going to be making.
Yeah.
So until then, Happy New Year and Merry Christmas.
Yeah, it's Merry Christmas.
If you're feeling exhausted, puffy, anxious, foggy, gaining weight, or just not like yourself, you're not imagining it. Women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s are experiencing massive hormonal shifts, and no one is explaining what's actually happening. I'm Katie Whalen, co-founder of Joy. I built Joy because I lived this. The fatigue, the mood swings, the weight changes, the confusion. Your symptoms are biological, not personal. And AI-generated lab reports won't fix them. Every Joy lab includes a visit with a licensed clinician who specializes in women's hormones and connects every biomarker to how you feel. Energy, metabolism, mood, sleep, skin, weight, everything. Then, we personalize real solutions: hormone therapy, peptide therapy, supplements, and lifestyle protocols. Get started at joyandblokes.com today. This month, new customers get 50% off labs, and you can add our estrogen face cream for just $1 with clinician approval. Use promo code PODCAST at joyandblokes.com.